Oh, this is a stage in Melty Blood, ain't it? It looks familiar. We head to the park just after 9 o'clock in the evening.
大事なことだから、もう一度だけ説明しておこうかな。長く生きた人には、そのあり方を武器にした懲罰能力がある。吸血種に備わった基本的な能力とは別の、その個体が血を飲むことで持ってしまった特別な呪いみたいなものね。ブローブはその域に達している使徒よ。使徒を倒すということは、その懲罰能力を破るということ。あの炎を消す手段を獲得しない限り、人間に勝ち目はない。だから、私がブローブの呪いを壊すまで、シキはあいつに近づかないでね。
The plan itself is quite simple. Arcade will stay here and lure Vlav out. Apparently, vampires can pinpoint each other's locations if they don't hide their biological wavelengths, or something like that. It seems like Vlav isn't hiding his wavelength. I don't know if it's because he doesn't care, or if he simply can't do it. Either way, if Vlav starts to approach us, Arcade will be able to detect him before he gets here. On the other hand, Arcade normally suppresses her wavelength, but she's now openly broadcasting it in order to provoke Vlav. In other words, it's just like a moth strap, and there's a lamp right there. All we have to do is wait for the moth, Vlav, to be lured in by the light, Arcade. After that, the plan is the same as before. I'll hide in the bushes and keep my eye on the fight from a distance. When Arcade binds Vlav with her chains, that'll be my cue. I'll jump out from the shadows and cut his lines. Arcade shows no signs of nervousness. She's just blankly staring at the sky, looking bored. But the same can't be said for me. My hand unconsciously grips the knife hidden in my pocket. Our plan isn't foolproof. I'm all too aware of that fact. For starters, there's the possibility that Vlav will notice me hiding. Although Arcade says that the possibility of this happening is extremely low, in the end, it's still not zero. If that happens, there's no guaranteeing my safety. There's a risk that I'll end up helplessly burning to death, just like the people in the hotel. But that's okay. That's a risk I'm willing to take. The real problem here is the other possibility. The possibility that Arcade will fail to restrain Vlav. In other words, if Arcade loses. If that happens, it'll all be up to me. It'll be up to this single knife to both stop Vlav and save Arcade. Can I really go up against that vampire? Against those flames, all by myself? Just thinking about it makes my limbs tremble. I'm gripping my knife so hard that my fingers are starting to hurt. I feel an indescribable fear. I myself don't even know what's causing this feeling.
怖いの、シキ。
Yeah, Arcade can sense it. When I snap out of my thoughts, Arcade is standing right in front of me. She must have noticed that I was trembling. God, I'm so pathetic.
ああ、めちゃくちゃ怖い。あの吸血鬼が近づいてくるかと思うだけで泣きたくなる。
ん？シキ、泣いてないけど？
必死に我慢してんだよ。わかれ、バカ。
She really is insensitive. It'd be nice if she could understand me, even if just a little. Instead, I get this reaction. I'm not sure what part of what I just said got on her nerves, but it seems like she's upset.
ところで、私もその吸血鬼なんだけど。
ああ、知ってるよ。何度も聞いた。
だから、吸血鬼である私が怖くないの？今までのあなたの定義からすると、生き物として嫌悪の対象になると思うんだけど。
え？
That's weird. I hadn't noticed it until she pointed it out. She is absolutely right, but...
なんか、お前は別。だって血を吸ったことないんだろ。ならいい。吸血鬼だろうとなんだろうと、俺たちに手を出さないでいてくれるなら、それでいいんだ。
なるほど。 そういう考えもありなんだ。
I don't know if she understood or not, but she makes a non-committal sound and drops the topic. The hands of the clock point toward 10. According to Arcoid, this is when vampires are most active. Vlav will show himself on the surface. I don't know where his stronghold is, but I'm sure that once he wakes up, he'll sense Arcoid's presence and come to us.
正気
Arcoid's tone changes. With a mutter of intense disgust, she glares north in the direction of the station.
アルクエイド。
Something's going
信
on.
じられない。あいつ本当にその一人なの？
Is that fire? Is that whole place on fire? What the hell? I turn to follow Arcoid's gaze. Is that smoke? There's a pillar of smoke rising on the horizon. There must be a fire somewhere. No. Hold on. A fire?
アルクエイド。あれ、まさ。
ブローブよ。無差別に人を襲ってる。正気が欠けているなんて甘かった。あいつは死者と変わらない。血が足りなければ目の前の人間から補充する獣だった。文明社会、この時代の人間のルールをまるで把握していない。
I hear a loud explosion in the distance. The rising smoke continues to blacken the night sky. Shit, this is way worse than what happened at the hotel. If he shows up in a crowded downtown area like that, the number of casualties will be orders of magnitude higher.
アルクエイド。
分かってる。急ぎましょう、シキ。
I start running toward the station. What the hell's going on over there? The man wakes up in excruciating pain. Yeah, this is like the one girl in the opening. After the opening. His agony is deafening. The same grating sound as scrapes of metal being pulverized in a blender. At his unearthly screams, even his progeny trembles in fear. He thrashes, flails, and lashes out his surroundings, yet the pain does not disappear from his consciousness. The skin on his fingertips has been torn to shreds. Acid oozes from the core of his bones, melting his body from the inside out. Every few minutes his heart rots away, and each time it regenerates, the pain reappears along with it. As long as he lives, he cannot escape this torture. His only release would be death, but even that salvation was lost long ago. Jesus. He no longer remembers why he parted ways with death, nor when exactly death became so far away. Only agony remains, cold, painful, hot, frightening. His mind is full of nothing but those bestial howls. He recalls that he came to this land in order to chase something, in order to kill. He left his beloved mistress' belongings behind in his territory and crossed the vast expanse of ocean. This is his last chance. He resolved to take everything back, knowing this was it. But what exactly was it that made this his last chance? Was it his mind, his sanity crumbling with each passing day? Was it his body, the curse within it growing with each passing day? Or is it the penance of the crimes he committed in days gone by? He can no longer recall. He already forgotten so much. But if he came here for the purpose of regaining his sanity, then it is far too late. He lost his mind long ago. He can no longer return to the way he once was. When he crossed the ocean, most of his accumulated fortune was washed away. He can no longer return to his homeland. He has no means to survive other than to claim this ground as his own. So is he talking about Vlav? I guess they're talking about Vlav? Or the next victim, I don't know. It doesn't matter. Nothing that led to this matters. In this moment, all he craves is blood. His throat is freezing, his skin is parched, his soul is starving. He needs warm blood as soon as possible. He wants to bathe in human blood as soon as he can. Such trifling questions as, where am I, and what am I doing, are drowned out by the desire for blood that burns in his heart. Yeah, so it is talking about Vlav. He walks through the darkness, marching with the dead in tow. He exits the vertically moving box and crawls out into the sun-drenched ground above. As he does so, he sets the whole bitch ablaze. The blue flames spread like encroaching water. Not a single creature, human, senses the danger that now dyes the land. Even as the man shrouded in blue mist wanders into the crosswalk against the light and is hit by a van. Even as the ghouls that accompanied him grab pedestrians by the shoulders, push them into the ground, and the grisly sounds of their feasting begin to fill the air. Even as the people raise their voices in shock, none of them give it their all to run away. By the time they realize that this isn't just someone else's problem, that this bizarre spectacle is bearing down on them as well, they have already lost their chance to escape. The van that should have run the man over is instead split in two upon the impact. In less than a minute, the pedestrians who had been pushed down by the ghouls become nothing more than leftovers. The flames that have already spread throughout the area burn the legs of the people attempting to flee, reducing them to nothing more than crawling mules. It is the beginning of pandemonium. In the midst of it all, a faint sense of reason stirs in his brain. The dazzling light makes him squint. His thoughts, smeared with pain, begin to spin with exceeding discomfort. Because you lit it up on fire, that's why. An abundance of fruit, humans, lies before his eyes. Normally he would disembowel and drain them dry with joy, but that urge does not spring forth. The man roars. How could one consider this a fertile land, even replete as it is with humans? Jesus. A blue flame sweeps over the dead. It engulfs the ghouls in the blink of an eye, transforming their bodies. The blazing dead are driven by fire. Their abilities are elevated, but their bodies will be reduced to ash before long. His visceral disgust only intensifies his curse. Blue wildfire that burns only the living floods the street. A river of flame that has burst its banks. Whoa. It's a goddamn massacre. God, that combination of red and blue is crazy. He crushes the flame-grilled fruit beneath his foot and accepts the gushing blood shamefully. Even if it's the equivalent of being bathed in vomit, he must accept it. Ugh, look at those teeth, god damn. He is a real fucking vampire. Yeah, he ain't on some Count Dracula shit. Or on some fucking The Count shit from Sesame Street. This is a real fucking vampire. Look at this shit. He curses his own misfortune. He can't even move without bathing himself in this filth. Look at him! He is horrifying! He continues his march, bringing the burning and crumbling corpses along with him. He cannot remember his ultimate goal, but until he can, there is only one thing left for him to do. He comes to the realization that this endeavor, cause the flames endeavor, was worthwhile after all. He mockingly calls for the humans to die an agonizing death. This corpulent city deserves a disgraceful end. Holy shit. The city is in a frenzied panic. I run through the crowded streets back to Shiki. Even from here, I can see the fire coming from the front of the station. The screens outside broadcast the breaking news on repeat. A fire has broken out on the north side of Suya Station. The trains have been suspended, and the people who are visiting the downtown area are frantically running for their lives. A news anchor covering the emergency is on the screens. It's an interview with a high school girl who has just escaped from the fire. Her words are treated as shock-induced delusions, of course. The fire is only continuing to spread, and we've reached the point where nearby residents have been advised to evacuate. Despite that, the main street is overflowing with people, having come all the way here to state their curiosity. They now stand on the fringes of observing, filming, and relaying the situation to their closest friends. The road to the station has already been blocked off. Is this a fire break? Even if it is, they got it up way too quickly. Besides, there are too many people around. It's almost like they're blocking off the exits, making sure nothing can escape. Either way, we can't get through. She vigorously pulls my hand. Without waiting for an answer, Arcade slips away through the crowd of people, dragging me along behind her. Yeah, this creepy-ass alleyway. I shake my hand free. Arcade turns and examines the walls of the building. Flying? She moves swiftly and decisively. First she grabs my shoulder, like she's about to pin me in judo, and then... And then, she says something completely insane. Whoa! Holy shit. She's flying. No, she's jumping. Before I even had time to blink, Arcade bounded from a wall to wall, up the face of the opposing buildings, and now she's higher than the rooftops. No, higher than the clouds. Of course, she did all this while holding on to me. We're so high. This is terrifying. How high are we right now? We're above that building, and it has to be like 40 meters tall. A 20-meter drop tower ride would make my heart beat out of my chest, but this? Where the hell am I supposed to put my feet? Tilting her head in confusion at my screams, Arcade ramps up the brutal pace even further. We leap from the rooftop to rooftop, building to building, like a rabbit hopping on the surface of the moon. I endured this surreal experience with gritted teeth. Just as I'm starting to enjoy it, Arcade finally stops leaping. We're on the roof of a skyscraper overlooking the city. We've landed in a hanging garden, one that was not originally designed for humans to enter. All the sudden ups and downs have played havoc with my breathing. My chest hurts. The wild swings in my blood pressure are doing a number on my heart. Even though we aren't high enough for the atmosphere to get thinner, my entire body has frozen up from all the shocks to my system.
見て、あそこよ。
見ろって、何？
I don't even manage to finish that sentence. In an instant, I forget all about the pain caused by my elevated heart rate. Yep, there's all the fire. It's on fire. The city I live in, with all its familiar buildings, is being consumed by a sea of flames. I really hope the mansion isn't getting affected by this. I mean, it's far off, but those flames could spread like fucking crazy. I now see the full extent of the horror. The main street is wrapped in a red veil. Little by little, the fire continues to burn away the buildings' silhouettes, as if whittling them down with a blade. And there's Vav in the thick of it. This really is a literal river of flame. Within it is a man ceaselessly devouring. He bathes himself in the crimson rain, slacking his thirst. There are several people in front of the man. They're the police officers who are setting up the barricade. Yep, guns ain't gonna work on this motherfucker. The officers raise their pistol and fire them in unison. But the man doesn't even flinch. He probably doesn't even notice that they're there. More figures appear from behind the monster, from behind Vlav. Burning corpses. They were probably living, breathing humans until just a few minutes ago. Now they're nothing more than reanimated cadavers. As if they were begging for help, the corpses move toward the firing officers. And they ripped them to shreds, didn't they? God, look at how much it's spreading now. Jesus. Emotionless words leaked from my throat. I didn't even have the chance to look away. The sense of duty and urgency I felt while running toward the city has been swept away. Right now, the only thing left in my mind is pure fear. That is a vampire's true nature, a being whose mere existence brings death. And that is the enemy we must now defeat.
いないわね、教会の連中。ここまで見境なしならそろそろやってくるはずだけど。
Yeah, where's Ciela and
や
Noel?
はりこの国には赴任していない。でも、その割にはきっちり交通規制はしているし。ここの大公者、実践派じゃなくて制服組なのかしら。
Unlike me, Archwade isn't looking at the river of fire. Instead, she's focusing her attention on something completely different.
さあ、どうしようかシキ。見ての通り、ブローブはあの状態よ。私を探し出そうとする理性すらなかったただの殺戮者。あのまま放っておけば、あいつは血を消耗して弱体化する。ブローブの存在規模から言ってこの町は燃え尽きるだろうけど、その後なら私一人でも倒せるわ。楽をして傍観をする？それとも。
She's asking me if I'm willing to put my life on the line to save others. Although she already knows what I'm about to say, Archwade asks me to confirm it one last time. And so, with all the determination I could muster, I glare at her, my body shuddering.
方針に変更なしなのね。これを見ても気が変わらないなんて、あなたもグローブのことは言えないかも。でもどうするの？私はこのまま始めても構わないけど。
Wait, what does she mean? Is she saying she can relocate? That she can transform the battlefield somehow?
なんとかできるのか、あの状況。
うまくいけば、私も人目につくのは避けたいし。
頼む、今すぐあいつを叩き出してくれ。
了解。ならあいつごとそこに落とすわ。あの下、なんか空洞みたいだし。
Wait, underground? What does she mean by drop? No, there's no time to be asking questions. Right now, we need to get them off the streets as fast as possible.
でも約束は忘れないで。ちゃんと後からついてきてね。
My mind just can't keep up with all the surprises happening one after the other. What the hell? So are you just gonna leave me up here? Fuck? Leaving me behind. Archway leaps off from the rooftop and into the void. She's like a white flower dancing in the wind. An air current catches her body as she throws herself from the rooftop. The chains of gravity release. The grounding anchors are raised, and instead of falling, she gently rises instead. Like a sailing ship catching the wind, she gambols through the night sky. Yeah, this image is so gorgeous. Oh my god. Paired with this music too? Bro. This is no cause for surprise. She is an avatar of the planet, both its green child and its mirroring. All the fluctuations that occur on its surface belong to her. The blessing of nature, the nurturer of life. The wrath of nature, the destroyer of life. Such are natural rights possessed by her body.
よーし。
The beautiful flower twirls around, as if to gaze up at the moon. She turns her attention from the cosmos to the ground. The unraveled chains and the raised anchors strike the surface of the earth. Below her is a tall stone building, scattering sparks of fire.
せーの。
Here we go. The blossom in the night sky transforms into a falling star. The flower of the moon transforms itself into a tempest, blowing away the blazing flames. She was like a human missile. Archway dropped onto Vla from a height of 80 meters. Actually, it was more like she flew. While in the air, she took aim and angled herself before accelerating like a missile. Earth and debris billow up into the air. The wind whips up a cloud of dust that skirls the area. The river of flame had been flowing through the downtown areas, halted in its tracks by that single blow. It blows away the policemen that had been surrounding Vlav, incapacitating most of them in the process. Half of them are struck in the head and knocked unconscious, and the rest simply lose their will to fight. I can't blame them. Yeah. God, she made a big-ass crater with that too. God damn. Especially after the dust had cleared, and I can see the full extent of the destruction. Archwade's rapid descent completely shattered the ground around Vlav, and caused a corner of the plaza north of the station, a significant chunk of the downtown area, to sink underground. So this is what she meant by dropping them underground. The land has sunk over 40 meters. It felt like watching an incredible force of nature. Its grandeur is on the same level as the Amazon jungle or Niagara Falls. Of course, I'm not praising her in the slightest. As far as I can tell from the rooftop, there aren't any fatalities. The policemen who are outside the blast radius have tended to the knocked out officers and withdrawn from the site of impact. As a result, the entire area is now completely deserted. This method of clearing people out is way too over the top. Were those Vlav's flames just now? I don't know if Archwade missed or if Vlav somehow managed to dodge, but either way, he's still alive. Even after that attack, the monster refuses to go down. As if hunting him down, a white shadow challenges the originator of the flames in the cloud of dust. You'd better catch up to me after... Archwade's words resurfaced in my mind. I'll have time to think later. Right now, I need to hurry down to the ground level. I run over to the stairs. I cut the lock on the door to the rooftop with my knife. I dash down the stairs, relying on the emergency lights. My resolve, like my breathing, becomes more and more ragged as I go. All I have to do is cut through Vlov's lines. First, Arcwave will fight him, and then restrain him with her chains. After that, it'll be my turn. I'll sprint up to him, cut his lines, and dismantle his body. Arcwave's descent back there was extraordinary. I guess her confidence was warranted when she said she could pin Vlov down. However, even so, Vlov is still standing strong. Doesn't Arcwave's previous evaluation still hold? If she happens to be wrong, there's also the fact that she's been handicapped by her wound. In the worst case scenario, I would have to fight Vlov alone. No, that won't happen. We didn't make any plans for the worst case scenario. It's not like we didn't consider it. There's just nothing to be done. If Vlov defeats Arcwade, the only choice I would have left would be to run away. I finally reach the elevator. I rush inside and press the button on the first floor, for the first floor. There's no more time for hesitation. There was never any time to hesitate in the first place. I take a deep breath. I give my body a once-over. It seems to be in working order for now. Only the fingers gripping my knife refuse to move. It's like they aren't even part of my own body. Is this fear I feel? Am I afraid to face that violence? Face that monster? If that's what it is, then there's no problem. It's only natural that a human being would be afraid of that thing, afraid of confronting a being that you can't even approach without coming face to face with death. Could you really call yourself human if you aren't afraid of that? That's why, if there were a problem, it would be if I felt more afraid of killing than of being killed. My breathing speeds up. My heart is pounding restlessly, like it's detached from my body entirely. I arrive at the first floor. Adjusting my grip on the knife, I run toward the newly formed crater. As I leave the building, I find that the area ahead of me has been reduced to rubble. I crouch down and advance, stopping just short of the perimeter of the crater. The new crater is 40 meters deep. This area used to be a park, but there's no trace of it anymore. The rubble forms a slope leading down to the foot of the pit. Although it'd be impossible to climb up from the bottom, descending should be possible even with legs like mine. With that said, oh, that's fire. And there's an option. So let's save. I should observe the situation. Let's be reasonable. I can't go down there yet. The floor of the pit is completely covered in blue flames. A tall vampire stands at the center. Vlav Archangel. He was right at the corner of that explosion, but there's not a scratch on him. By human standards, he's practically an immortal monster. And across from him, there stands a figure in white, toying with him as she attacks head-on. A beautiful huntress, darting through the garden of flickering flames and debris. Naturally, that figure is Arcwade. She leaps across the river of fire, and closes in on Vlav. Scrap him. He has a crude yet deadly weapon gripped in his hand. At first glance, it looks like a longsword, but the blade is that of a machete. Arcwade, on the other hand, is fighting empty-handed. Racing across the crater on foot, she closes in on Vlav. With nothing but her claws, she traces blows with Vlav's machete, forcing the tall figure to retreat. There's a single gash on his arm, one so deep you can see straight through the bone, but it's only there for an instant. The arm sliced open by Arcwade's claws is healed by the very blood that pours forth from it. Arcwade had told me that so long as a vampire has blood, they are immortal and possess an abundance of life force. It looks like she wasn't lying. In the blink of an eye, the wound that would have killed a normal creature had disappeared as though it were never there. Vlav's massive weapon doesn't stand still for even a moment. Arcwade's being careful to keep her distance. After each strike, she moves out of his range and prepares for her next attack. I just realized that I'm pretty sure this is also a stage of Melted Blood. Is she just being cautious of Vlav's counterattacks? No, that's not it. That look in her face, is she enjoying cornering him?
死ににくいだけがあなたの取り柄なの27層も質が落ちたものね。このまま奥の手も見せないで私に殺される？
Vlav's breathing has become erratic. His sickly pale face is etched with pain and anguish. Vlav is most definitely immortal, but even that has limits. He may seem unharmed, but there's no doubt that Arcwade's dive bombing dealt him a fatal wound. It probably took all he had just to regenerate his body. It's the same as when I killed Arcwade. It stands to reason that he squandered the bulk of his energy reviving himself. In fact, Arcwade seems to have come to the same conclusion. That's why she's falling back after every attack. She's inviting Vlav to perform one final attack, a counterattack with all his might. Countless clashing sounds echo through the air. Vlav's breathing grows even more frantic. I feel an indescribable sense of unease. Arcwade has the upper hand. It's clear that Vlav is being worn down, and yet, as a bystander, I feel a growing sense of dread in my chest. The dread stems from the fact that Vlav is taking far fewer hits from Arcwade's claws than he was a little while ago. His swordsmanship, well, I guess it's machete-manship, is also much more formidable than one would expect given his appearance. On top of that, it's clear that he's already able to see right through Arcwade's speed and movements, but most importantly of all, he still hasn't used his Hand of Flame. There it is. Vlav lets out a roar. With its bellow of rage, Inferno intensifies. The apocalyptic flames reach a height of several meters. The river of fire splits into a dozen of streams. Pit has turned into an underground coliseum filled with a forest of fire. The walls of flame block Arcwade's escape, and with the stage set, a hand of unparalleled heat is unleashed toward Arcwade, melting the rubble in its path. Oh shit. In that instant, the tide of battle is completely reversed. Arcwade said that she could withstand temperatures of up to 3,000 degrees Celsius. However, the hand that melted the rubble with ease has a temperature well over that. 3 more of those hands pile down on her. Not even the ashes will remain at this rate. There's no escape from the tormenting tongue of flame as it licks its prey clean. The white figure burns away without a trace. Holy shit. At least, that's what would have occurred if this had happened last night.
Psych!
Oh, hell yeah, what the hell? Her outfit changed. The flames are torn apart. A white skirt flutters in the wind. Enraptured, I'm unable to tear my eyes away from her transformation. She's a damn Sailor Moon character now. She mentioned something earlier. Something about having a countermeasure and rebuilding her body in advance. Vlav's flame seemed to mean nothing to her in that black and white combat outfit dress code. And is the dress absorbing the flames? Or is she herself impervious to them now that she's rebuilt her body? Either way, the flames can't touch her anymore. Arcwade's countermeasure is flawless. Her victory was decided the moment she identified her opponent as a monster of flames back at the hotel. Holy shit. A hand of flame is unleashed. Arcuates casually thrust out her left hand. With a casual flick of the wrist, as though simply combing her hair, she disperses the towering walls of flame that surround her. The walls of flame bow their heads, submitting to the white dress. Her golden hair whips about like a shower of shooting stars. Ooh, good hits. Her claws fly through the air and rain on Vlav with power unlike anything I've ever seen before. As he helplessly retreats, her claws strike a second time, then a third. The difference in strength is night and day. This is no longer a battle. As soon as his flames were neutralized, Vlav became mere prey to be hunted. Arcuate's claws continued to unrelentingly inflict accurate, mortal wounds into Vlav's flesh. Vlav is probably only still standing because he has some blood remaining, but even that is going to run out at some point. Unfortunately for him, there aren't any humans around to extract the resources from. The only blood he has left is that which floats within his own body, and that won't last more than a few more blows. In other words, he's bankrupt. Without the energy to revive, he'll return back to his rightful state as a corpse. He's openly begging for his life, just like a child throwing a tantrum. His mastery of the machete is also lost. He swings it haphazardly, as if to dispel the fearful sight in front of him, but Arcuate is not going to be let such a clumsy opening pass by. Ooh. Screaming, the vampire leaps. Mustering the last of his blood strength, Vlav jumps backwards. No, upwards. He jumps from the floor of the pit toward the surface. Even a height of 40 meters isn't enough to stop a vampire. He's probably planning to replenish his blood supply on the surface. Oh no you don't. Green ivy twists around his legs. The ivy sprouts from beneath the rubble at a terrifying speed, grabs Vlav's feet, and pulls him back down to earth. A river of flame appears once again at Vlav's feet. Engulfed by a fire that burns only life, the green ivy is reduced to ash. However, his shackles do not vanish. New ivy, fertilized by the ashes, entwines itself around him. No matter how many times he burns it away, he cannot break free. Like a phoenix, it returns again and again. Yes, if vampires can be considered immortal, then so too do the workings of nature from an eternal, endless cycle. The ivy is a manifestation of that. He cannot escape it without a fire capable of burning down the planet itself. For Vlav, or any vampire with a curse his size, snuffing out Arcuate's breath is something that's simply impossible. Arcuate breaks into a run. From the intensity of her stance, I can tell that this is the finishing blow. All of Vlav's counterattacks have been thwarted. She has decided that now is the time to end it all. I'm in complete agreement. She doesn't need to wait for my assistance. If this goes on, she'll crush him to pieces. And yet, I can't help but feel apprehensive. Something is wrong. His agony and his breathing both entreat me to notice what amiss. What is amiss? Vlav's complexion and anguish have become even more ghoulish. With that scorching heat, he exists in his own separate world. His breath is white, as if the world he exists in is the polar opposite of ours. I know those eyes. The instinct for both fight and flight. He is simultaneously both the perpetrator and the victim. That's why we are definitely making a fatal error. Arcuate's victory is inevitable. There's no way I'd interfere at a time like this. I don't have to do anything. There's no need for me to go out of my way and enter that hellscape. Knowing that, I Have no choice but to watch the battle from here, call out for Arcway for stop. Oh my god, there's another decision? Holy shit. I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch it and then just see what happens. I don't know. I have no choice but to simply watch. I feel nausea slowly welling up in my throat. An indescribable chill crawls its way down my spine. I wouldn't be able to make it in time from here anyway. The only thing I can do, no, the only thing I should do, is calmly watch the battle unfold. His chest is pierced. A great deal of blood is spilled. The plug that held in Vlav's blood has been removed. The infernal delusion dream comes to an end. The final boundary is crossed. And then... With an earth-rending scream, the vampire's true form is revealed. The atmosphere creaks. The frenetic dance of atoms is abruptly brought to a crawl. Electrons, repelled by the solidified rift of near absolute zero temperatures, have nowhere to go and start to react. The blue flames that blanketed the ground were not flames at all. Similar to the enthalpy of evaporation, they were more like heat that had been lost from the earth itself. Did he burst or something? What's going on? A cold-blooded arm hangs in the air. The palm of his hand is outstretched, as if groping for warmth. The white beauty in front of him is swallowed completely.
Deep freeze!
Oh, he uses his ice. Yeah, he has ice powers too. This isn't just a drop in temperature, it's as if the world itself suddenly changed without warning. The river of ice that sprung forth from Vlav didn't just blow away Arcoid, it kept extending all the way to the city behind her. It can't have taken more than 2 seconds. The glacier reached the buildings on the surface and froze everything in an instant. What if there were still people in those buildings who hadn't evacuated? Any warmth they might have had has been snatched away. My body trembles at the unbelievable scene in front of me. I'm terrified at the prospect of what might happen next. It's only by chance that I'm still alive. If I had been behind Arcade, I would have been frozen where I stood. The expanding river of flames was slow-moving disaster. People were able to run way faster than the flames were able to spread. But that glacier formed in an instant. Its range is narrow, and billowing cold only crawls along the ground, but once it's released, there would be no hope of escaping it. If that guy manages to get above ground, anyone that comes face to face with him would have no choice but to lay down and die. I hang on to my one and only hope. She is the only one who can stop that monster. She's still standing. In the middle of the icy river stands the figure of Arquade. Thank goodness, but also, goddamn, she's just as tough as he is. Also, that outfit is so fire. If that becomes like a costume in Melty Blood, that would be awesome. Or like an alternate form or something like that, I don't know. That'd be cool. She's standing amidst that frigid air without a scratch on her.
そういうこと。あなたは正気がないんじゃなくて、正気から逃げていたのね。三流の使徒である。原理を持つ以上は星を打倒しようか。おかげで目が覚めたわ。ブローブ・アルハンゲル。
Arquade brushes off the glacier. Flav stares at her with cold eyes, not with the sickly eyes from before, but with eyes that carefully observe their prey like a hunter in a snowfield.
目を覚ましたのはこちらの話だ。よくも俺からここまで熱を奪ってくれた。
His voice is like a blade, his words dripping with hatred. The vampire's fighting spirit has not been faded. Quite the opposite. It's like he's only now decided to fight in earnest.
そう。なら、己の幸運を感じなさい、ブローブ。 本来なら目を覚ます前に終わらせていたわ。あなたを救ったのは憎たらしい殺人鬼よ。まあそれも今一時の話だけど。
確かに伝え聞いた貴様の姿と今の貴様はかけ離れている。どうやらここ一番で俺は幸運を拾った。
忌々しいけどそういうことよ。お互い最後の一撃を残しているだけの体たらく。どちらかが仕掛ければどちらかが消えるだけ。その前に最低限の礼は取ってあげる。答えよ。
Uh-oh.
賠償家畜の我が霊則。その証根の形相大臼のごときその穴から新たな原理をはらんだ種よ。貴様にとって血とは何よ。
As a stern voice, jarringly out of place in the current situation, Arkwight's question could almost be taken as a reprimand. After opening his eyes wide in surprise, Flav replies,
慎んで答えよう。俺にとって血液とは断そのもの。生命の熱さ、我が凍傷を癒す霊薬、我が世界、我が原理を回すもの。しかり血液がなければ俺はこの寒さに凍りつく。
he reveals his own true self, with a voice that could be constructed as almost respectful.
思い出した。人間を嫌い恐れ避けようと絶海を漂流し城を構えた変わり者。27祖の一人ゼリア・アッヘンバウム。1000年を超える原理を持ちながら子を作らずに領地を治めていたと聞いたけど、そう、つまり殺して奪ったのね。
そうだ、俺は後継者ではない。ただの騎士だ。騎士だった。永遠など俺には手に余るものだ。
The vampire turns his right hand toward his own shadow. Oh! This is his last arc, right? That big ass sword? From the long, unnaturally long shadow that stretches before him emerges the hulking form of an outlandish weapon. Yeah.
だが、ご当主にとってもそれはより不相応だ。故に奪った。騎士として王を倒し、その王座を簒奪した。今やこの原理は俺だけのものになった。
そう、短い王位だったわね。
強気だな。空想具現化もできぬほど弱っていながら俺と正面から打ち合うと。
Marble Phantasm?
いらない。たかだか死と相手に世界と同化する必要もない。あなた程度この爪だけで十分よ。
The edges of the vampire's mouth twist upwards. His refined face warps into that of an ugly beast. It is as though he's grinning in agreement with Arkwight's provocation.
最も強き者とは先編にして偏らぬ。貴様はまさにそれだ。そこまで衰退していながらまだ俺を上回る余力がある。あらゆる呪い、あらゆる状況に対応する原初の位置。波の使徒ではかなわない。
The air distorts. The blue flames born from sickened thoughts begin to drop the temperature in the crater. Arkwright doesn't hesitate. She charges Vlav head on, despite knowing that his strange weapon has the potential to defeat her. And then,
だが貴様は知るまい。かの領土はこの星の一部でありながら、生きるにあたわずと除外された生命権。いかに神祖の姫であろうと、この地獄に耐えきれるか。
whoa. A wave of cold air billows out around Vlav. Arcwade comes to a sudden halt and sticks her hands out in a protective gesture. The wind blows fiercely, and with a piercing howl envelops the city in absolute zero. And then... Ooh. A huge lance of otherworldly steel pulverizes her pure white dress. The blizzard blocks my sight. My breath comes out white. Oof. Bad shape. Arcwade is blown dozens of meters back and collapses top of the wreckage. The dress that had been repelling the flames is shattered. She reverts to her former self.
怪物め、俺の槍を受けて原型をとどめているか。だが
Arcwade stays down, showing no signs of waking. Without moving from where she stands, Vlav holds up his right hand as if to signal something. The rubble around him crumbles. Several corpses crawl out from underground, groaning.
この狩りはもはや俺のものだ。女の死体を拾ってこい。その順応性、あらゆる苦しみを上回る万能の血をこの手に。
At Vlav's command, the corpses begin to close in on Arcwade. The winner has been decided. Our strategy has failed. Vlav cannot be sealed by those chains anymore. Arcwade has been defeated, and the city engulfed by a billowing cold. Everything around me has been annihilated. Standing at the foot of the stage, I watch the final act unfold before my very eyes.